Welcome to the Ultimate Savings Showdown, CD versus HYSA. First, we will frame the core decision for large, multi-year goals like a future home purchase, balancing higher yield against access to your cash. Next, we will define the products, compare pros and cons, run numbers, and design a practical strategy including laddering and hybrids. Then, we will cover risk, penalties, and alternatives like money market funds and short-term treasury ETFs. Finally, we'll wrap with key takeaways and a quick quiz to make sure it sticks. Here's the roadmap. First, the saving dilemma. Next, definitions and available options. Then, we compare pros and cons, run some numbers, and show how laddering works. After that, we propose a hybrid approach and consider alternatives such as money market funds and short-term treasury ETFs. Finally, we'll address risks, penalties, and taxes before a short quiz and concrete next steps. The core dilemma for large multi-year goals is simple. You want yield and you want liquidity. Certificates of deposit lock in a rate, while high-yield savings accounts keep your funds fully accessible. The question is how to strike the right balance for your timeline and risk tolerance. Next, let's define the options clearly so you can compare them on equal footing. Let's level set on definitions. A CD is a time deposit that pays a fixed, guaranteed APY if you hold to maturity, but early withdrawals often incur penalties. A HYSA is a liquid savings account that pays a variable APY and typically offers easy access transfers. It's generally FDIC or NCUA insured, depending on the institution. Money market funds aim to maintain stability and current income with high liquidity, but they are investment products and not FDIC or NCUA insured. Short-term treasury ETFs hold U.S. government debt with low interest rate sensitivity. Their yields can be competitive and, at the federal level, interest is usually state tax exempt. Now that we have the basics, let's compare CDs and HYSAs head-to-head. Comparing CDs and HYSAs. CDs provide a rate lock, potentially higher APYs, and predictable growth, especially effective when laddered. However, they reduce flexibility and impose penalties for early withdrawal, creating opportunity cost if rates rise. HYSAs offer daily liquidity and competitive rates that are often near top CDs, but they are variable and require monitoring because rates can change or fall. With these trade-offs in mind, let's move to the numbers to quantify the difference. Let's quantify. For a $100,000 goal over 3 years, a 4.10% APY CD compounds to approximately $112,811, while a 3.30% APY HYSA compounds to roughly $110,127. That's a difference near $2,684. Now consider penalties. Many 12-month CDs charge a 180-day interest penalty. At a 4.1% APY, half a year of interest is about 2.05% of principal, or about $2,050 on $100,000. Therefore, if there is a meaningful chance you will need the funds before maturity, keeping sufficient liquidity and employing laddering can reduce penalty exposure. Next, let's snapshot today's product traits side by side. This table highlights product characteristics. CDs often range around 4 to 5% for 12 to 24 months, with low liquidity and early withdrawal penalties but offer a locked rate. HYSAs, around 4% or higher, offer high liquidity with no penalties but variable rates. Prime money market funds show competitive SEC yields with high liquidity but are investment products and not insured. Short-term treasury ETFs can offer similar yields with high liquidity but can fluctuate in price. Their interest is typically exempt from state taxes. Next, let's explore how CD laddering can preserve some liquidity while locking attractive rates. This flowchart starts from total savings in branches to an emergency fund held in a liquid HYSA and a separate ladder principal of $60,000. The ladder divides into 4 rungs: $15,000 at 6 months, $15,000 at 12 months, $15,000 at 18 months, and $15,000 at 24 months. As each CD matures, the cash can be used for the goal or rolled into a new 24-month CD at the prevailing rate. If an unexpected need arises mid-term, only the nearest rung may need to be broken, limiting penalties to a fraction of the total. This structure balances predictable returns with staged access. Next, we will put the ladder on a timeline to visualize maturities against your goal date. This timeline shows 3 parallel tracks over 36 months. The first track is the liquidity bucket in HYSA or MMF, available continuously. The second track shows the CD ladder rungs, maturing at 6, 12, 18, and 24 months. The third track marks decision checkpoints at each maturity, where you either reinvest into a longer rung to maintain the ladder or allocate funds to the goal. The final milestone is the target purchase at month 36. This makes it easy to see how staged maturities support mid-course adjustments while keeping most funds productive. Now, let's turn to practical rate shopping steps you can take today. Here are concrete steps. First, define your timeline and set a liquidity buffer, typically 3 to 6 or more months of expenses, in a liquid account. Next, screen high-yield savings accounts for 4% or higher APY with no fees and fast transfers. Then, evaluate 12 to 24-month CDs with strong APYs and reasonable penalties. Consider brokered CDs, money market funds, and short-term treasury ETFs for potentially higher yields. Verify insurance and tax treatment, including FDIC or NCUA coverage, and possible state tax advantages on treasuries. Open and fund accounts, automate contributions, and reassess rates quarterly, moving if a materially better opportunity emerges. Now let's assemble these pieces into a simple hybrid plan. A practical hybrid starts with an adequate emergency fund, usually 3 to 6 or more months of expenses, in a liquid HYSA or money market fund. For the goal itself, consider allocating around 60% to a 12 to 24-month CD ladder to lock attractive yields, and 40% to a top-tier HYSA or money market fund for near-perfect liquidity. At each CD maturity, either roll to sustain the ladder or allocate to the goal as milestones approach. If rates rise, the liquid bucket benefits. If rates fall, the CDs keep your blended yield strong. Before we move on, let's test your understanding with a quick quiz. Question: if you may need part of your funds unexpectedly within the next year, which approach best balances yield and access? Options: A. Put 100% in a 24-month CD for the highest rate. B. Keep all funds in a basic low-yield savings account. C. Build a CD ladder for part of the funds and keep the rest in a top HYSA or money market fund. D. Delay saving until rates peak. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is C. A blended approach that includes a CD ladder alongside a liquid high-yield savings account or money market fund preserves access while locking a portion of the yield. Next, let's try a second question about penalties. Question: a 12-month CD carries a 180-day interest penalty. What does breaking it early most likely cost on $50,000 at 4% APY? Options: A. About $273. B. About $1,000. C. About $2,000. D. 0. There is no penalty on CDs. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B. 180 days is roughly half a year at a 4% APY. Half that is about 2% of principal, which is about $1,000 on $50,000. Now, let's quickly cover risks and fine print so you can avoid pitfalls. Here are key risks and details. First, many CDs impose significant early withdrawal penalties, often 180 days of interest. Second, some CDs are callable, meaning the issuer can redeem them early. Prefer non-callable if you want certainty. Third, HYSA rates are variable and can change quickly, so monitor and move if a materially better rate appears. Fourth, money market funds are investment products and are not FDIC or NCUA insured. Review the prospectus. Fifth, short-term treasury ETFs can fluctuate in price, though modestly, and their interest is typically exempt from state taxes while capital gains remain taxable. Finally, interest from CDs and HYSAs is ordinary income. Be prepared for tax reporting. Next, because we have discussed financial products, let's insert a brief disclaimer. This content is educational and not financial, tax, or legal advice. Your circumstances are unique, and you should consult a qualified professional before implementing any strategy. With that in mind, let's summarize the most important takeaways and action items. The key points are as follows. Keep a robust emergency fund in a liquid account. Do not settle for mediocre rates. Compare across CDs, high-yield savings, money market funds, and short-term treasuries. Use CD laddering to reduce penalty exposure while securing attractive yields. A hybrid mix often provides the best balance between rate lock and flexibility. Finally, optimize based on today's available rates rather than trying to predict future rate moves. To close, here is a brief summary of what to do next. In summary, define your timeline and cash buffer, secure a top high-yield savings account for your emergency fund, construct a 12 to 24-month CD ladder for part of your goal savings, keep the remainder in a liquid HYSA or money market fund, and review rates quarterly while rebalancing as CDs mature. This approach aims to capture attractive yields without sacrificing critical liquidity. Thanks for watching. If this helped clarify your plan, please like the video, share it with someone saving for a big goal, and subscribe for more. In the comments, let us know your current mix across CDs, HYSAs, money market funds, and treasuries, and why it works for your timeline.